What if, instead of being the one controlled, you became the one pulling the strings? This is where Niccolò Machiavelli enters the room, not as a villain, but as a realist. A man who wrote the instruction manual for power, while everyone else was still pretending the world ran on virtue. In The Prince, Machiavelli doesn't just hint at manipulation, he embraces it. A wise ruler, he writes, ought not to keep faith, when by doing so it would be against his interests. He understood that in politics, in war, and in life, honesty is a luxury few can afford. If survival is your goal, manipulation is not just an option, it is a necessity. But what does that actually look like? Machiavelli teaches that appearances are everything. A leader must appear to be merciful, faithful, humane, religious, and upright, even if he is none of those things. Why? Because perception is more powerful than reality. People judge what they see, not what is. This principle isn't just for kings and tyrants. It applies to everyone, from CEOs to influencers to the kid sitting in class who learns how to play both sides. The first rule of manipulation is this: you don't need to control people. You only need to control what they believe. And belief, Machiavelli knew, is fragile. He warned that people are so simple and so obedient to present necessities that whoever deceives will always find someone willing to be deceived. You see this everywhere, in politics, marketing, religion. The most powerful figures in history didn't force their way to the top. They seduced. They masked their intent with charm, virtue, or fear, whatever the audience required. Adolf Hitler didn't seize power with guns. He used words. He gave the German people something to believe in. Was it monstrous? Yes, but it was also effective. Manipulation, Machiavelli would say, is morally neutral. It is a tool, and tools can build or destroy. Let's be clear, Machiavelli wasn't evil. He was honest about how power operates. He didn't invent manipulation, he exposed it. And he paid the price for doing so. For centuries, his name became synonymous with deceit and treachery. But in reality, he was describing a world already soaked in lies. He simply told the truth about the lie. So, how do you use manipulation without losing yourself? First, understand the value of silence. The manipulator does not broadcast intention. They observe, listen, wait. In his writings, Machiavelli praised Cesare Borgia, a ruthless leader who used calculated cruelty to consolidate power. He was regarded as cruel, Machiavelli says, but his cruelty restored order. The point? Strategic manipulation can bring clarity to chaos if it's wielded with discipline. You don't lie for fun. You lie when truth will betray you. Second, never show your full hand. Machiavelli writes, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. So one must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." The best manipulators are shapeshifters. They adapt. They don't just push, they pull. Sometimes you dominate. Other times, you disappear. The goal isn't to win every battle. It's to never fight one you didn't already rig. There are, of course, dangers. Manipulation without purpose becomes parasitic. It erodes your identity. If you're always pretending, eventually you forget who you are. Machiavelli's great insight wasn't that manipulation is good. It's that manipulation is everywhere. The only way to survive is to become aware of the game. Once you see the strings, you can choose whether to pull them, cut them, or weave your own. But manipulation can be used for more than personal gain. Leaders use it to hold nations together. Doctors use it to calm patients. Parents use it to protect children from truths they're not ready for. It can be gentle, subtle, even compassionate. A mentor who withholds harsh feedback until the time is right. Is that dishonesty or wisdom? The difference lies in intent. Are you guiding someone forward or pulling them down? Machiavelli saw manipulation as a reflection of human nature itself, imperfect, emotional, hungry. Men judge more by the eyes than by the hands, he said. Which means if you can control what people see, you can control what they believe. And if you control belief, you control behavior. In the end, the greatest manipulators are not puppeteers. They are architects of illusions, of perception, of power structures that feel real but are not. And the most dangerous manipulators of all are the ones who don't even know they're doing it. So the question is not whether you'll be manipulated. The question is, will you learn to use the tool or be shaped by it? As Machiavelli knew, the world does not belong to the good. It belongs to the aware. But what makes someone fall for manipulation in the first place? The answer is simple: comfort. People crave simplicity, not truth. They want answers that soothe them, not realities that challenge them. The manipulator understands this. They craft their message not around what is, but around what the listener wants to hear. And that's where real influence lies. Not in force, but in the illusion of choice. Think of religion, politics, advertising. Manipulation is not always a lie. It's a selection of truths. A politician doesn't invent problems. He amplifies the ones that serve his agenda. A brand doesn't need to create needs. It just has to repackage desires. Machiavelli understood this dynamic long before media existed. The vulgar crowd, he said, always is taken by appearances, and the world consists chiefly of the vulgar. In other words, most people don't want to look behind the curtain. They want a performance. And here's the terrifying part. The most successful manipulation doesn't feel like manipulation at all. It feels like conviction. It feels like inspiration. Cult leaders, influencers, even revolutionary figures, they thrive because they believe what they're saying, or at least they make it look like they do. Conviction is contagious, and in a world starving for meaning, the one who speaks with certainty holds the leash. Now, take a step back. Think of the systems around you: school, work, entertainment. Ask yourself, who benefits if I stop thinking critically? Who profits if I trust without verifying, obey without resisting, believe without questioning? These systems are not chaotic, they are constructed, and those who designed them understood one simple law: a person who sees too much cannot be controlled. So, distraction becomes the weapon. Constant noise, constant stimulation, confusion by design. As Machiavelli would have put it, men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. And when love is hard to manufacture at scale, fear, confusion, and passivity become the default. But the truly dangerous manipulators are not on podiums or screens. They're the ones closest to you, the friend who always makes you feel guilty, the partner who twists your words, the boss who keeps moving the goalposts. This is not always conscious. People manipulate as a form of survival. They learn it young. A child learns how to cry in just the right tone. A teenager learns how to lie with the truth. It's baked into us. Manipulation is not the exception. It's the hidden grammar of every relationship. So how do you protect yourself or use it ethically? You start by knowing your own weaknesses. What do you crave most? Approval, admiration, security. That's your leash. The manipulator will find it, pull it, and dress it up as care. Machiavelli never said you had to be cruel. He said you had to be aware. He believed that it is much safer to be feared than loved when you have to choose. But he also knew that fear could be delivered with a smile, and love could be used as a leash. Manipulation is not always about intimidation. It's about leverage. And in the end, perhaps that's the final insight, that manipulation isn't always malicious. Sometimes it's strategic, sometimes it's protective. Sometimes the only way to win a rigged game is to rig it back. But never forget, once you learn how to use the mask, there's always a risk you'll forget how to take it off. So, learn the rules, understand the players, master the performance, but don't lose your soul. Machiavelli gave us the mirror. What we choose to reflect is up to us. And maybe that's the most subtle form of manipulation. Not what's said, but what's left unsaid. Silence becomes a weapon. Withholding information, delaying the truth, redirecting attention. These are not lies, but omissions. And Machiavelli understood that the omission is often more powerful than the declaration. He wrote, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." What does that mean? That the manipulator doesn't need to boast. He simply needs others to project meaning onto him. Create the frame and let others fill it with their own imagination. This tactic has been used by some of the most influential figures in history. Take Napoleon. He cultivated an image of destiny, not through constant self-praise, but by letting others mythologize him. He walked in silence, but history echoed in his footsteps. He understood that manipulation isn't about pressure, it's about presence. To stand still while others try to figure you out gives you power. Mystery creates gravity, and this carries into everyday life, in relationships, in leadership, even in friendship. The less predictable you are, the more attention you command. The manipulator doesn't need to control people directly. They only need to become the object of curiosity, fear, or admiration. As soon as you are in someone's head, you've already won half the battle. Machiavelli would say, "Don't explain, be felt." Of course, manipulation without clarity becomes chaos. Even manipulators have rules. And perhaps the most dangerous manipulators are the ones who begin to manipulate themselves. They justify every lie, forget every mask they wore, and eventually believe their own illusions. They become drunk on the power of perception, forgetting that the world has a way of revealing the truth in time. As Machiavelli warned, the promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. In other words, what worked yesterday might destroy you tomorrow. So if you're going to use manipulation, use it with direction. Know your goal, know your values, know your line, because once you cross it, there's no turning back.